Welcome to the Dynamics of Everyday Life, where we demystify some tricky concepts and get to know ourselves a little bit better. Welcome back to the show, everyone. Today's title is a shameless Cliff Richard reference. I could apologise, but I'm not going to. A, because I don't have to, and B, because I do think it's one of his classics. How am I bringing Sir Cliff into the world of psychodynamics? Well, as his 1989 crowd pleaser explains, it's about those moments when you know something has run its course, but you can't quite bring yourself to end it because you quite literally just don't have the heart. We're thinking about those everyday situations that aren't working anymore, but you keep going because you'd feel bad for stopping. The friendship that's become more admin than affection. You've got a lot of shared history, but nothing in the now. We've got the memberships that you signed up to that aren't really doing a lot for you anymore, but you know the person running it puts in an awful lot of effort, so you don't feel like you can change. And in my case, it was changing my hairdresser. The guilt I felt about this was astronomical and vastly out of proportion. Now, it wouldn't have been so bad if I'd changed salons, but when you get someone else at the same place doing your hair because your normal hairdresser isn't able to do it, and she does it a lot better, there is a lot of guilt that gets thrown into the mix. I now have my hair done on a particular day as my previous one doesn't come into the salon then. I mean, seriously, this is what it does to you. So what's going on here? You'll be relieved to know that it's not actually about my hairstyle. It's about guilt. The quiet and under-the-surface kind that keeps us in place long after something's served its purpose. These small endings that can somehow feel harder than the big ones. There's no slamming down of the phone. Now, as an aside, I do think people these days miss out on that tiny moment of pleasure. It's very cathartic, but it's hard to do that on a mobile. Pressing the end call button in an assertive manner just doesn't have the same effect. There's no walking out of the door and slamming it behind you. Anyway, where was I? Yeah, it's the niggling feeling that something needs to change, and we might hurt someone's feelings when we make that change. Guilt tells us that we care. It's like social glue, a sign that we value our relationships, but sometimes it shows up in the wrong place. It's not protecting a person, it's protecting an image of ourselves. I'm kind, I'm loyal. I don't let people down. And Freud would call that our superego, that part of ourselves that wants to be good, responsible and considerate. All admirable qualities. The problem with this is that it doesn't like change. It prefers harmony to honesty. Now let's go a bit deeper into the psychodynamics of this. We've got quite a few things swirling around. There's some transference playing out. Quick recap on transference for those of you who don't eat, sleep and breathe this stuff in the way that I do. Transference is where we replay relationships with our primary caregivers, generally speaking our parents, but not always, in a situation in the here and now. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to repair primal wounds or behave in a way that is going to ensure that we feel safe. And it's unconscious. We don't know that we're doing it. Or at least initially we don't know that we're doing it. Now, what's happening from a transference point of view here is that we often feel responsible for other people's feelings because they unconsciously remind us of earlier relationships where we had to keep the peace. It mattered how other people responded to our actions. There were consequences, either real or perceived, if people weren't happy with what we were doing. And this now gets transferred onto our current situation. Hello, people-pleasing. You can start to see where that stems from, can't you? As always, we've got our defence mechanisms joining in the fun. And sometimes guilt is a defence. It keeps us from facing the discomfort of change. And it rarely travels alone. It brings a few friends along for the ride. In the front seat, we've got rationalisation. We dress up discomfort as logic here. We come up with perfectly reasonable justifications for staying put. As always with these episodes, there's often something going on in my life that sparks the idea for what I'm going to talk about. I do have a just don't have the heart dilemma currently. And I was talking through it with my husband, and when I said my rationalisation out loud, I realised I needed to take a long, hard look at myself, as it was utterly ridiculous. But I'd made it matter to me. So we can see how this, we can tell ourselves all kinds of things to try and help ourselves feel better. We've also got reaction formation. Sometimes we overcompensate. We double down on the niceness to avoid facing what we actually feel. Like being extra chatty, when in reality, part of you just wants out. It's a false warmth we put on, almost politeness turned into a psychological shield. Your inner hyacinth bouquet is on overdrive here, handing out biscuits when wanting to run away. Maybe we've idealised the person or our role in their story and we can't let go. They've been so kind to me, they've had such a hard time. And whilst empathy is lovely, idealisation can blur the truth, that kindness doesn't mean you owe loyalty forever. And there's identification. We can sometimes identify with the other person. We imagine how they'd feel if we'd left, and then we start to feel it ourselves. And that's why the guilt feels so real. We're not just feeling our own emotion, we've absorbed theirs too. When you stop and think about it, there's an awful lot in the mix here. It's no wonder that we struggle with this. My invitation for you this week is for you to consider where in your life you're saying yes, because you don't want to feel guilty. What are you maintaining out of habit instead of what you actually want to do? If you trusted the relationship could survive honesty, what might you say? Something else to consider here is that guilt often appears at the edge of growth. We've got that awkward middle ground between comfort and change. It doesn't always mean that you've done something wrong, which we can take guilt to mean. Sometimes it means that we've done something right, but our conscience hasn't quite caught up with this. The adult part of us knows that we've outgrown it, but our inner hyacinth bouquet still wants to keep up those appearances, to be seen as gracious, loyal, and ever so nice, even if it means that you're suffocating under the weight of politeness. And, as always, give yourself some grace. Hyacinth would rather host a disastrous candlelit supper than admit that she's not enjoying it. And honestly, when we think about it, so would most of us. If you can't wait for the next podcast, there's my weekly LinkedIn Live sessions. I'm doing these most Monday afternoons at 2:30, so do come and join the fun in those, unless it's a bank holiday, and then I'll have my feet up and I will be watching a James Bond film. A couple of other things before we close. My course, Essential Psychodynamics for Coaches, we start again in January. The first 2 rounds have been fantastic. I've got fabulous groups of coaches with lots of learning and discussions. There's already people joining up now, so if you don't want to miss out, come and join the incredible coaches already signed up for some psychodynamic fun. Send me a DM or an email and we can have a chat. If you're interested, but you're not sure what it might involve, I'm doing a webinar on LinkedIn on Wednesday, the 5th of November, where I'm going to be talking about the Essentials course and answering any questions that people might have. So do come along to that. The link is on my LinkedIn profile page. If you've missed that one, as I know this episode will actually be going out on the morning of the 5th, then I'm planning to do them on a regular basis. So do check out my LinkedIn page. And as we always close, looking at ourselves at this level can be challenging and unnerving as we develop our awareness, so I'd always encourage that you do this at your own speed. To have a chat about psychodynamics and find out more about the different ways that you can work with me, either as a trainer, coach, supervisor or mentor, then click on the link that's in the show notes. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Dynamics of Everyday Life. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. As well as producing this podcast, The Dynamics of Everyday Life has lots more psychodynamic fun going on, and you can find out more at dynamicsofeveryday.life.